Hi, and welcome to another Average Joe Hockey Report. So this hoodie there is from the Sin City Shootout in Las Vegas, and it's obviously I know it's backwards, I know, but it's from 2014 when I played in the Sin City Shootout ball hockey tournament in Las Vegas. Uh, it had a bit of a hiatus for a bit, but another company is hosting ball hockey tournaments in Vegas. And while apparently it's not as nice as the Sin City Shootout, wouldn't mind participating in it. Anyhow, in this video, we're going to talk about the rebuilding Buffalo Sabres. Yes, it does come at an interesting time as the Jack Eichel trade just occurred, but I just figured I want to talk about the Sabres. I feel like, the Sabres rebuild um, is going pretty good. I know there's some things that where there's some parts where the Sabres look good, and there's as a franchise, and there's some parts where the Sabres don't look so good. Let's talk about some. Let's talk about why I've liked their rebuild though. Like if you look at their roster, I've written up like all their up and coming prospects. It's like so they added Peyton Krebs now. You got R2 Ruotsalainen, Owen Power, first overall pick, could be the backbone of their defense one day. Jack Quinn. Um, while people um, uh, were critical, thinking that should have been Marco Rossi, Jack Quinn could still be a very very good player for the Sabres. Still a very up and coming player, whatever. Dylan Cozens, John Jason Paterka. You know, so that's just like their prospects. I mean, as it is, Victor Olofsson. Victor Olofsson looks good. Um, uh, you also got. Wasn't there someone else? Uh, Come on. Rasmus Asplund. There you go. Rasmus Asplund. He's looked pretty good. And even, like, Rasmus Asplund's second on the team in points with 7 points. And the scary thing about him, he's only 23. So, yeah, he's looked good. And then you look at some of their other prospects, I guess Rasmus Dahlin isn't necessarily a prospect and hasn't necessarily flourished to be a number one pick yet. But I'd like to think that the Sabres should be, um, patient with him. And I think as he gets older, as the more depth comes in for Buffalo, and as the players actually start getting good, that Dahlin will finally flourish and show why he was a number one overall pick. Also, Casey Middlestat and Henry Yokoharu, I wouldn't necessarily count them out yet. Still pretty young players and whatnot. So, obviously, they've got that. Oh, one person I'd like to mention also is Jacob Bryson. Um, Bryson is. Hold on a second. Yeah, Bryson is 23 and has 4 points in 9 games. Not bad for a 23-year-old. So yeah, there's been quite a few young players on Buffalo that are promising or have made the jump and have looked pretty good and whatnot. So yeah. And then you look in goal. Obviously, as much as I didn't care for the Sabres parting ways with Linus Ullmark, you know, Craig Anderson and Dustin Tokarski, you know, they're fine for if you want to, tank and rebuild and whatnot. And while the Sabres are 5-3-1, I believe it is, I think they are bound to go back down to earth and start having a sub 500 record. But for the time being, the future in goal looks promising. You got Devin Levi, Uko Pekka Lukonen. Yeah, I know what a name. And then Eric Portillo, who's playing college hockey in Michigan. His stats are pretty good. He's a third round pick. I don't know if he's necessarily gonna be their number one future starter because I've seen UPL play some games in the NHL, and it's looked pretty good. And then I got to see Devin Levi play for Canada, so we'll see. We'll see. I think where the Sabres take a few L's though is you got the contract of Kyle Pozo that's still $6 million. At least there's only 2 more seasons left of it. Curious if they could even afford to buy it out eventually, but so that doesn't look good. And then you also got Jeff Skinner with a long-term $9 million deal. Mind you, Jeff Skinner's actually hasn't looked too bad this season. He's got 5 points in 9 games. So while I wouldn't think that's worth $9 million, he at least hasn't looked useless so far this season. Oh, I guess Kyle Pozo the same thing, 5 points in 9 games as well. So I think, but yeah, those contracts definitely don't look good. The whole fiasco with the Jack Eichel surgery, how he wanted a certain surgery, and then the Sabres team doctors didn't want to give him that surgery. They wanted a certain other type of surgery, which Eichel is going to be getting the surgery that he wanted in Vegas with their team doctors. I don't know, that's not necessarily a good look in my opinion, but yeah, I think those are the two things where well, I can think of a third L is basically like if you're the Sabres, I'm praising them for, you know, having all the prospects that they have. And then, oh, to add to it, I think they have 3 first round picks, I believe now, in this coming draft. So that's always a good thing. But uh, if you're, I follow a YouTuber called Urinating Tree, and he seems to, you know, um, keep track of the Pagulas, Kim and Terry Pagula, and what they've done in the past and whatnot. So I think it's imperative that Kim and Terry Pagula, who are not really hockey people, to not necessarily meddle, and like they're also the owners of the Buffalo Bills, and then the Buffalo Bills have turned it around. And then I could see the same thing happening with the Buffalo Sabres with all the prospects they've been getting and whatnot. So if you're the Pagulas, who have had a history of either meddling or um, screwing things up, or for that matter, with the Sabres, what they've done is they've hired like the kind of like the wrong guys at GM, and then who have put the Sabres in the mess that they are. But I definitely do think that with the current state of things where the Sabres do look promising, I think that's where if you're at a Pagulas, you take a step back and let things slide and whatnot. Okay. All right. This video is at times or mostly based on opinion, and may not have any implications on how the team or the players pan out and whatnot. So remember, if I'm wrong, don't belittle me, educate me, because this is Average Joe Hockey Report, hockey opinions based on the views of the average Joe, of an average Joe. Sorry. Anyways, take care, everyone, and follow my Instagram channel, Average Joe Hockey Report, and my YouTube channel, Marty Tommy, in parentheses, Average Joe Hockey Report.